Earn your JD from UNH Franklin Pierce School of Law and join the powerhouse in legal education. Apply today at law.unh.edu. Professor Buzz Scher joins me to walk through what the impeachment process is and how the rules for the proceedings are determined. This is the UNH Law Podcast. Learn more about the law school and apply by visiting law.unh.edu. Opinions discussed are solely the opinion of the faculty or hosts and do not constitute legal advice or necessarily represent the official views of the University of New Hampshire. So, Buzz, let's start real basic. What exactly does impeachment mean when it comes to the President of the United States?
The actual impeachment is a vote by the House of Representatives in support of articles of impeachment. So technically, the House of Representatives impeaches a president. Then those articles of impeachment go to the Senate, and the Senate votes based on those articles. They have a trial in the Senate, and then the Senate votes based on those articles of impeachment whether to remove the president from office. That requires a two-thirds vote. So technically, impeachment is the start of the process. It's like an analogy to a criminal trial. It's like bringing an indictment against somebody, and then you have a trial, like at least generally speaking, like a criminal trial in the Senate, and there needs to be a two-thirds vote to remove the person from office.
The House has started an inquiry, which is this technically part of the impeachment process, or is them just them saying we're going to investigate to see whether we want to start the process or not?
Yes, is the answer to the question. It is a process that of gathering evidence to see whether they want to formally go forward and invest and create articles of impeachment, which first the House Judiciary Committee would vote on, and if voted affirmatively, send to the full House for a vote. So again, if you think about the analogy to the criminal justice system, it's like police do investigations. You know, they investigate and gather evidence, and then the grand jury also, then they bring that evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury can also do further investigation, ask questions, and then they return an indictment. So it's a process. For example, one might think of the House of Representatives as the grand jury, and what's going on now. Initially behind closed doors with Democrats and Republicans there, and then shortly it appears, based on what they've decided in public, is calling witnesses in to get them to testify, gathering evidence for as a part of the investigation to provide to the House Judiciary Committee for articles of impeachment.
Say they find enough evidence or the committees find enough evidence where they feel like they want to proceed. What's the next step after the inquiry? The
way it's set up now is rather shortly, the House Intelligence Committee, which has been doing the investigation so far, will hold public hearings. And call witnesses to establish in public the nature of the investigation.
A lot of repeated witnesses, I'm assuming, from the closed proceedings?
Yeah, they may well not call any witnesses they already haven't heard from. Okay. Really, one can view what's been happening so far as depositions, which are common in some states in criminal cases. They're very common in civil cases, which before the trial starts, you interview witnesses under oath formally. And that's what's been going on. And at every step, Republicans and Democrats have been involved. It hasn't been a one-sided thing. Unlike a grand jury in a criminal case, a grand jury, the only people there are the prosecutor and the grand jury. 16 to 20 grand jurors, and the prosecutor calls in witness by witness. The defendant doesn't get to be there. The defendant, either himself or through counsel, doesn't get to ask any questions. It's all done in secret. So it's different. It's different in that way from the formal criminal justice system. And at the investigative phase, It's different just given the nature of who's doing the investigation.
Right.
When the police are doing an investigation, they don't bring along the lawyer for the defendant or the defendant, or whoever's going to be on the other side. Whereas here, there have been a good number of Republicans present through all these depositions behind closed doors.
Now, and then they would bring it forward to the House.
So then they have the public hearing, and then based on that, the House Intelligence Committee or other committees that have been doing investigation will send all that information that they've gathered, perhaps in the form of a report that's a little unclear, to the House Judiciary Committee saying, here's what we've gathered. Then it'll be up to the House Judiciary Committee to actually draft articles of impeachment. That is, count one, here's what constitutes an impeachable offense in these circumstances. Here's what is a high crime or misdemeanor or any of the other issues like bribery that are articulated in the Constitution as impeachable offenses. They'll write those up. There may be 4 or 5 of them. There may be just one. And then the House Judiciary Committee will vote on them. If they vote affirmatively, then it'll go for a vote to the full House of Representatives. My guess is that'll probably occur sometime in December.
Okay. Now, how many people need to vote for? Is it just a strict majority?
In the House, it's just a majority.
Okay.
Whereas once it goes to let me back up one step. This process I've described, much of it was much of the rules that the investigative committees have been abiding by were rules written by Republicans many years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's not as if this is, the Democratic majority has been writing new rules all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, how they were going to proceed in terms of once they were done with the investigation, the inquiry, how they were going to proceed, they developed a bunch of processes that I've just described that the full House voted on in terms of the rules. The same thing will occur in the Senate. The presiding judge at the trial will be the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court.
And that's an interesting way that brings in the third branch.
It does, although they have really limited role. They're basically there, I think, to keep order. Okay. The Senate itself gets to make the rules for how the trial proceeds in the Senate, and the Senate majority is Republican. So, led by Mitch McConnell, they will have a pretty significant say on what the rules are going to be.
What sort of general rules might be?
How long a witness can testify. I mean, it could be anything. It could be each side only gets to call X number of witnesses. Mm-hmm. A lot of narrowing down can occur simply by putting deadlines on things.
Interesting.
They might develop rules as to what kind of evidence can be objected to or not. In the formal criminal trial, the rules of evidence apply. Mm-hmm. There's no provision in the Constitution for what rules for information flow, for the admissibility or inadmissibility of evidence will be on the table, will be used at the trial in the Senate.
Now, say it does make it through the Senate, which at this point it'd be very rough. I mean, there's a Republican majority right now. Now, say it does happen to make it through the Senate and they agree to have him removed from office. What would then occur?
He leaves office.
Then the vice president would.
Then the vice president takes office. We've been so seemingly inoculated from high political drama over the last 2 years. But boy, this is the ultimate in high political drama.
It is. It's more than just a Twitter spat. I mean, this is legitimately how our government operates.
And very much so. And it's occurring in a very polarized political environment. Mm-hmm. It's going to be it'll be very interesting to figure out, whatever the outcome, what effect it has on how citizens view the U.S., the federal government, going forward.